Hi, and welcome to Marketing Speak. I'm your host, Stefan Spencer, and today we have Jonathan Pantalis with us. Jonathan is an entrepreneur and founder of Phi Kind Chocolates. After struggling with low energy, fatigue, and depression, he found his diet and lifestyle to be a major culprit. His company creates chocolates without sugar and processed junk that actually taste and look amazing. And I have to tell you, I was really impressed when I was chatting with him at an event recently. I met him, and he was telling me a bit about his story and his journey and what he does to grow the business. And it's a scrappy startup, but boy, he's kind of a ninja. So we're going to learn about some of his marketing techniques and some of the strategies he's employed, and some of them have worked and some of them haven't. So thank you for joining us today, Jonathan.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stefan. I appreciate it.
So let's talk about, first of all, the mistakes, because I know you wanted our listener to learn from your mistakes so they don't make some of these same mistakes in their business and in their marketing. What have been some of the more costly ones that you've made?
Well, I really it was in scaling the business. Quite frankly, scaling operations, because we market, manufacture, and like we do it all in house and fulfill. Like, we're kind of rare in that we don't have a fulfillment center. We don't outsource really anything. Everything's pretty much done in house. So we wanted to scale our operations, and we were, having just banner year, great sales, and got ourselves into a mess of the lease. That was probably the most expensive mistake that we made, signing a lease that we couldn't handle, and then having to wiggle our way out of that. Only the second time I made that mistake, and probably going to be the last. But I would say that's it. And I think the lesson in that is that really there's always more that you can squeeze out of whatever you got. Like, we're actually in the same space. We've almost quadrupled our business since I guess late 2018, and we didn't need more space. It was just a different strategy. So I think that was the biggest, most expensive mistake.
Yep.
That answers that.
Okay. So if you could do this over again, what would you do differently besides not sign a lease that was overly aggressive in terms of growth and needs for square footage?
I would have listened to other people more, because I think that when you get when you, especially for me, this is like my first successful business. And once you get that, I guess, taste of success, if you will, you can get a little crazy and a little bit ambitious with stuff. And I certainly did. And I just thought that we were so insulated and we were so secure to do whatever, and that things are always going to be good now. We finally got through the hard times. And, I mean, certainly, I guess, the universe had a different lesson for me there. So,
yeah, my wife says that sometimes the gift has the bow on the bottom. Right.
That's so true. And truthfully, I'm so grateful for all of that, because it was one of the best things that happened for us. Every Facebook algorithm change that's kicked us down, from at least our direct response part of our customer acquisition that we do, it's always been the best thing that's ever happened, because it's made us focus on the back end more. All of those. That's such a great analogy. Bow on the bottom. Yep,
yeah. So one of the gifts with the bow on the bottom, I guess, was you having depression and issues with fatigue and so forth, because you wouldn't have created this business and had all these happy customers that have high-quality chocolate that actually makes a difference for them and isn't just like a yummy treat, but has some nice qualities within it. Do you want to describe a bit more about this?
I'd love to get into that. So it's kind of interesting, because like when I was younger, I was always like, I feel like I go through these phases of obsession, like ever since I was a kid. Like at one point it was, doing magic tricks and like sell, I guess I was always an entrepreneur in that way, but I was always get very obsessed about things. But somewhere when I got into high school, my energy plummeted. I couldn't even read a paragraph and remember what I read. I really wish at the time that I was more into diagnostics and more into actually researching and analyzing that. because I honestly don't even know what exactly it was. I just started focusing on diet, focusing on nutrition and detox, all of that. And that really, really turned things around. So uh, but yeah, I mean, the struggle of, not having any energy and being treated by like my teachers, by like, I didn't finish college, but by the college professors, like being treated like I was unmotivated and didn't know stuff, like that really pissed me off. So
Yep.
it made me want to prove to them that I could do better,
Right. And so what was it about chocolate? Like, why chocolate? Why did you end up in that kind of business instead of, let's say, I don't know, energy bars or, protein bars or something?
I don't, that's a very difficult question, but because it kind of fell in my lap, if you will. It was just perfect timing. This place that I'm in right now was going to be a pie shop. I signed this lease, once again, an overly ambitious decision that forced growth in my life. I signed this lease before I knew anything about business. I knew absolutely nothing. Didn't even have a co-signer. I just ended up getting the favor of this real estate guy who later turned out he was a crook, and this this building ended up getting acquired by the government because of they went to prison and everything. But
oh my goodness, wow.
Yeah. So but it was very interesting because I couldn't get anyone in my family to sign the lease for this pie company I wanted to start, and the guy was like, you know what, forget it. We'll just sign it. We'll do the construction. And that they did. They didn't get permits, and they created a whole lot of other mess. But it's funny. 2 weeks later, the guy gets arrested, and it was during that time where I started to really struggle with my health. Actually, I was already had low energy, but I didn't really know what was going on. It was during that time where I started to really dig deep, and I was just ethically I started to become ethically opposed to what I was doing, right? Like making pie, making cookies and cakes and whatever really didn't make sense anymore. It just didn't I was good at it, but it didn't make sense anymore. And
so it felt incongruent.
Right. I just couldn't do it. And I'd find myself trying to sell stuff like this, and basically telling people the downsides, not the benefits. But it all stemmed from wanting to make people happy. I think that's what it really. Once I really analyzed it, I always wanted to make people happy. I always wanted to see people feel good. And before I understood nutrition and health, that was the way to do that. So then once I understood the health aspect, I was like, how can I take everything that I know, like culinary wise, and turn it into something that's benefit, that people that are into these really detailed French chocolates, how can I take that and make it something that's healthy, that tastes good? So
and looks beautiful too. They're little pieces of art. I mean, I'm just so impressed by them. They're hand painted, right?
Well, some of them are. Yeah, for our limited edition stuff, some of them are hand painted and certainly hand decorated. It's we put a lot of work into it. We really want it to be something that's there's a lot of keto and sugar-free chocolates out there now. There's more and more every day, but we want it to be something that's like an actual experience, where every little. And that's where the marketing actually can be difficult, because it's every single detail has a story. I always am challenged to how do I explain this? In the most how do I encapsulate it? And that's kind of the best way we can is that. That was what got me was analyzing every ingredient. That's what got my energy back was cleaning up every single. I literally got to the point where I wasn't buying anything processed. I wasn't, got everything out of my diet that was, had more than a few ingredients on it. And, of course went organic and gluten-free and all that stuff. But I really wanted to encapsulate that with our chocolate. So it's is soy lecithin chocolate the end of the world? Probably not. But if we can do great chocolate without it, why not? That was kind of our vision there. It's everything to the very best we can. And then I was at the time I didn't know if I would even find people that had the same level of obsession that we did. And that's when I got into marketing. So
okay, we're going to get into that, but before we do, would you consider yourself a biohacker?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, I Absolutely. That was a big part of my healing. I at first, it was all on my own. I was doing a lot of raw food stuff. That was what I guess got me into it. Raw food and hydration stuff was my initial fascination, and supplements. And I've moved. I don't want to say I've moved past that per se, but I've certainly attuned that a little differently now. But I was doing a lot of like ozone therapy and different things like that to assist my immune system, because I believe that was a lot of what was going on for myself, was some sort of bacterial imbalance, some sort of gut dysbiosis. And I don't really experience that anymore, unless I really cruise off the path with my eating. I'm doing well now, but honestly, I believe a lot of people are suffering from this. And I think that to thrive in the world with all the toxins and everything, I think everybody's got to take on a little bit of biohacking to some degree if they want like the ultimate edge.
Yeah, I'm a biohacker. I just love experimenting and figuring out how to optimize different aspects of my health, and my brain performance and all that. Yeah. So I've done 40 Years of Zen, which is Dave Asprey's company. So Dave Asprey, who's got Bulletproof, also has 40 Years of Zen. You go for a week-long intensive neurofeedback program. It's wild. It's amazing. It unlocked memories that I had not had since I was a very young child. So 40 some years go by, and I never have these memories until I go through 40 Years of Zen. That's pretty amazing.
That's incredible. That's actually something that happened for me when I started to, I guess, peel the onion as far as my healing journey went. I started having a lot of childhood memories come back. It's an incredible thing. But I have heard of 40 Years of Zen. I've always wanted to give it a go. So
yeah, it's amazing. Cool. I know they've got a competitor, BioCybernaut, but I've not heard really anybody talk about that program. I have heard lots of people talk about 40 Years of Zen. In fact, the person who was my stem cell doctor, also Dave Asprey's stem cell doctor, Dr. Harry Adelson, he's the one who convinced me that I got to give this 40 Years of Zen thing a try, because he said that out of all the different things he's done, and of course he's a biohacker, I mean he lives in that world of giving stem cell treatments to people. He said 40 Years of Zen was the most impactful biohack he's ever done. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go for that.
That in life and in business, 40 Years of Zen is basically like a biofeedback assisted meditation.
Right. Neurofeedback assisted meditation. They have these things called ARPs or ARPs, augmented reset processes, that are like these mini therapy sessions where you forgive people who have hurt you in the past, and you connect with your gratitude and feeling or sense of abundance, and that will release lots of alpha. So you get more alpha waves by forgiving and by being grateful, and that shows up as these alpha spikes in the neurofeedback sessions. And wow. So they're like, what were you doing here? Like, a huge spike here. What was that? Do you remember if you were, remembering something, or were you like, what were you up to then in that session about halfway through? And sometimes you can pinpoint it, and sometimes I'm not really sure. I was thinking a lot of different things. And not every session do they go back and review with you, only about half of them. But the idea is that they want to get you more into alpha and more into theta and less into beta. Beta is where we're just beavering away on our laptops or whatever, getting work done, but it's not a flow state.
Right. That's something that actually, I never considered myself a stressed out or anxious person. I've always been very grateful for just like, would have so many bad things happen, I guess in the development of the business, but I just like let it, it's going to work out. This is, next things are going to get easier after this. I just had that belief like over and over. And then I had a traumatic experience. I live in Northern California where all the wildfires are. I wouldn't have called it a traumatic experience a year or two ago, but now I look back, losing everything in the fire, losing a pet. I had no insurance. My business was, I think I had $500 in my name or and more bills than that. And you know what? Like, I'm so grateful for that experience, but like that, like, definitely changed how I responded to stress. And learning meditation, learning the gratitude practices, all that was, I mean, it's not only like healed me, but it's taken me to a whole nother level because I'm in control now.
Yeah.
You know.
So, and well, first of all, my condolences on the loss of your pet. That's rough. I'm still, sad over losing my cat. It's been not quite a year, but almost a year, and boy, that's tough. It's really tough, and losing all your belongings, your all the things that were special and meaningful to you from your childhood and things, all that went up in smoke.
Yeah, everything.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
But like, it's a very, in a weird way, it's the pet is the hard part. Everything else, though, I'll tell you, like, once it's gone, it's like, it's almost a freeing thing. I'm not like a minimalist by any means now, but like I'm comfortable with like, my bed is like the most prized possession that I own right now, really. I mean, just because it's like organic and whatever, and maybe, just a few pieces of furniture, but like, living very simply now and focusing more on experience and travel, like at least at this phase of my life. And it's actually, I have a hard time wanting to keep stuff or buy stuff now, because it's actually like, I don't know how many people relate to this, but like when you lose everything and you literally only have the clothes on your back and you have to replace your entire wardrobe in like a week or two, it's like kind of exhausting to buy stuff. And then it kind of you get rid of that pleasure of buying. And it's actually, in a weird way, been a benefit in some sense. Like, but also just, I think back to gratitude, when you lose everything you can be grateful for. We immediately made 2,000 chocolate bars and donated them to the National Guards and all the local shelters around us. Didn't publicize it or anything, but like, I mean, and mind you, like maybe a week before that, like I was on track. Like I was asking family and friends for money, like, and getting turned down left and right. I was really in trouble with the business, and at the same time I lost everything, we still decided to give. Somehow, simultaneously, the business just started to take off. It was like the most surreal experience, and it's something that I just always have to remind myself to trust, because it was scary to put our time into anything but survival. But some of my really good friends, they owned other businesses. We all got together, made these bars, packaged them specially, and put little notes with everything, and donated them. And I mean, something happened with that where things just became so much easier,
Yeah, that's amazing. And I believe in, like, there's a bigger picture here that we're not seeing. It's not just, tangible, everything is made out of matter and so forth. There's a lot of mystical stuff that happens. And one thing that I believe in is when you are more focused on the others and your life and the community and so forth, that the universe rewards you for that with more abundance, and that's it's the long game we're playing, right? And not just trying to make money or whatever. We're trying to elevate our soul and reveal light in the world, which is always it changes your whole perspective on things.
It's so true, and it's such an easy trap to get in because I'm young, and though I'm not like I don't have anyone in my family that's been an entrepreneur or anything like that, or done anything but work like a regular job that I know. And it's like, for me, I certainly have been caught in that phase where it's like, all right, I'm gonna get money and then I'll focus on, then I'll worry about being spiritual again, and it's never worked.
Yeah.
It makes things so much harder. It makes every little, because when you're in that space, anything that's in resistance to that ultimate goal of making the money or whatever becomes an agitation, rather than it's like I'm learning, I'm evolving, I'm able to be around wonderful people. Like I'm free, more free than many people ever get to be, and I'm helping other people on that same path. It's like that if you can feel good about that, then yeah, exactly. It's like not even abundance becomes a different meaning.
Yeah. Yeah, and the money is a side effect. It's just a side benefit to what all the value creation that you're doing in the universe. Yep.
Yeah.
I learned a framework from Kabbalah from one of my Kabbalah teachers. His name is David Guillaume. He's phenomenal. I've had him on my other podcast on Get Yourself Optimized, so listeners be sure to check out that episode. But one of these concepts is the prism, and how when white light shines into the prism, it breaks up in all these different colors. Well, if we use that as an analogy and say these different colors are different aspects of our life, and we're chasing after these colors, like health and relationships, like intimate relationship, our career or business, all that sort of stuff, wealth. The problem is when you chase after a color, then you lose momentum and you have you drop balls in terms of the other colors, right? So you focus on your health, and then your business goes to heck because you're just like going hard out trying to get fit, and you don't have everything in balance. Or you're a workaholic, you're working 70, 80 hours a week, then your health goes to heck, and you have to have some horrible wake-up call potentially to get back into balance. So if you go chase after the white light, though, all the colors are within that. So there's this balance, and there's this bigger purpose and so forth, and it all gets handled. So I've found that to be true. I learned that just maybe 3 years ago. And I've financially, personally never been as successful as I have been over the last several years. And that's not even the point. It's just I feel more alive. I feel more like in service of others, and like I'm just scratching the surface of what's possible for me as a soul in this incarnation. It's pretty fun. Yeah,
and that really is the best feeling, because the money is it really is icing on the cake. It really, really is. Yeah, to tie into like my past, from coming from a place of very low energy, to have energy was such a gift, to like be able to do stuff. Because as I said, I was essentially, I could read a paragraph and read every single word, couldn't remember it, couldn't retain it, couldn't assimilate it, just couldn't even process it. And I knew I had a high IQ, whatever that's worth, but I could not do anything with it that was useful. So I literally just started listening to podcasts. I dropped out of school, and I said, you know what, I might drop out of school, but I'm not going to be uneducated. So I literally just, and I've never owned a TV, but deleted Netflix, got rid of all of that, and just started force-feeding myself information, listening to university lectures, reading PubMed articles on health and nutrition, just like literally force-feeding myself this stuff that I couldn't understand. And it took about 2 years, but eventually like I became a factory for retention, and and it's very interesting how quickly it went away, my ability to retain stuff, but how long it took to redevelop it. But once I did, like it was the greatest gift in the world to have all that energy. So what did I want to do? I wanted to work a lot, because I couldn't before. It was difficult to do before. I was just getting enough done to get by. And in that same way, like I've had to learn balance a little bit, because I'm so grateful to have energy that I can put myself in overdrive mode, but then I get deficient and the other things. And it's still something that we're never perfect, but it's like, it's been a big realization that when we get one track, when we just work, it can actually take away from our work, much like your analogy.
Right. And to circle back to what we were talking about earlier with biohacking brain performance, and with neurofeedback and 40 years of Zen, getting that alpha wave state in your brain so that you get into flow allows you to accomplish 5 times as much in the same period of time. You could, in one day, accomplish a week's worth of work just by being in a flow state.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we've all that's such the truth, and I've been finding that through meditation. I love to dive even deeper with the biofeedback part of it, but like I've been finding that with meditation. It's just absolutely incredible how much I get done by allowing myself space to not focus on anything, allowing my brain to unwire. Uh, that was a really profound thing that happened to me about a year and a half ago. I was not in a position where should have been taking a break. I was, was still like right on the edge of getting out of that lease I mentioned, and I was just, right on, kind of on a very major tipping point. But I really, in my logical mind, right, I should have been working. And my mom insisted that I come see her in Las Vegas to meet my half sister. And she really didn't want to go alone, and so I went with her. I was not in a position, in any means to do it, but I did, and I ended up. It was 10 days, and I ended up actually driving to Arizona for a few days, and I just meditated in the desert. I came back and like fixed everything in like a week, something that I've been working on for like 6 months. Just like in a week, it just everything fell together. From taking that time. And ever since then, I was like, I will never deprive myself of taking time, whatever it takes, to get myself into that right space, to be in a flow. And what's interesting, I've actually been able to work more because I'm focusing on being in exactly what you say, like being in the flow.
That's
a
so
very
cool.
interesting thing.
Yeah. Very cool. And I just, by the way, interviewed Ariel Garten, who's the co-founder of Muse, of Interaxon, that makes the Muse meditation headset, that tracks your brain while you're doing meditation. And
I almost bought that yesterday. I was about to buy it. I was at like an Amazon store. I almost did.
Well, there you go. The universe is knocking, saying hello. I learned this from Tony Robbins. There are no coincidences, right?
No.
So there you go. You might want to get that. So anyways, I interviewed her, and that was just such a profound episode. And I know that I need to meditate. I know I need to do it. And the only meditation I've been doing very repeatably is this morning prayer. It's a Kabbalistic, from Kabbalah prayer called the Anabacoa. And there's each of the 7 lines has a different meditation or kind of thing to think about. Like there's one line that's about connecting to the tree of life instead of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So really, yes, I'm so hungry for information and knowledge that I get lost and it's almost becomes an obsession or an addiction. And that helps me to ground myself and reconnect to, okay, it's all about the miracles and not so much about learning about how the universe works and, quarks and string theory and everything else. I can let some of that go. I don't have to know everything. And so that's just one of the 7 lines. So that's great. Only takes me a couple minutes to do that. That's different, though, from, I think, what you're describing of like a deeper meditation of really listening to yourself, I guess, or connecting to something greater and just sitting with that, or standing. There's standing meditations as well, or walking meditations. There's ones where you can walk the labyrinth. The meditation can take the form of like transcendental meditation, mindfulness meditation. You can do silence meditation retreats like Vipassana for 10 days of not speaking. Like there's all different ways of doing this, but it needs to be a practice where you just make yourself better and better, like you're going to the gym. And do you want to share any wisdom about this? Because I know I need to do more of this.
I'd love to. So and what's interesting in my experience in talking to other people, it's really easy in the beginning, and then it gets difficult. Once you're good at like letting your mind go on autopilot, if you will, it actually becomes harder. So that's where a practice is essential. That's where, the repetition is essential, because when it's difficult is actually when we ought to be doing it the most, But Yeah, I would say that for me, I've tried a lot. I've tried, the transcendental, and then I've also just tried, just silent meditations, counting. I've tried guided meditations, unguided meditations. Uh, what I find is at least 20 minutes. And I like to do it in the morning before I look at any electronic devices, which I know is very, very difficult to do. But I really made it a practice to wake up 5:30, 6:30 in the morning at the latest, try to get up right around when the sun goes up. And that's in my theory, it's when our melatonin is still kind of circulating in our body. So we kind of have like a little bit of, we're still in kind of a lucid state. So our ability to like slip into deeper levels of the other brain states I think is a little bit easier. So that's what I do. And what I like to do is I like to visualize at some point, but I really focus on kind of getting empty and just really tuning into my emotions, because I don't think that meditation is necessarily always about thinking about nothing, right? It's like, how does my body feel? What's the environment around me? Am I hot? Am I cold? Do I feel the weight of my body? It's really tuning into what exists. And then once you've kind of tuned in with everything, you kind of like you check in with every sensation in your field, in your body, and then you can move on to going into your emotions and then kind of your thoughts. And I really do everything I can, and it's not always easy to try to let go of the thoughts, right? And really, sometimes that's through counting, sometimes that's through breathing and like holding in breaths for some time and trying to pull the energy through my body through different breath techniques. I've kind of got a toolkit of them that I've used, because I've played around with several now, so I kind of will cycle through them to keep my brain, I guess, limber, if you will. But I think that the best thing is really the persistence, is the repetition, and continuing to have a practice of some kind. And I think that morning and evening, what I will do is I'll do gratitude in the evening for 10 to 20 minutes, just the things I'm grateful for. I think about where I was and where I am, what have I become. And then I think about the things in the day that I maybe didn't do so right. I think about how I would live my day again. I really have gotten into visualization and meditation because it's so much more powerful than just like affirmations or something like that. I really, that's one of the things that benefited me in the beginning. I still do both, but there's something about the combination of just seeing, because the emotions of abundance, the emotions of success, the emotions of, that's what we're chasing. We're chasing feeling good. Why do we want to be successful? Why do we want to have abundance?
Right.
Why do we want to be happy? Those are just emotions
which we could choose to have right now without having the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. Cool.
And I think that most of us have had a time in our life where we felt those emotions. So for me, I look back to the times where I felt free and abundant, and those might not have always been the times when I had the most money in the bank, but I would tune into those times, and really, because it's easy when you go by a memory, it's very easy to tap into an emotion, right? Like you can remember what it felt like. So I would focus on a memory of when I felt abundant, or when I felt happy, or when I felt connected, or when I felt like I had a lot of wonderful people in my life, depending on what I want to draw in. I would tune in on that. I would focus on that and try to just be eventually fade out the memory and just really amplify the emotion and feel it flooding through my body. And then I would visualize from that space. It didn't have to be anything. It was just like, I would try to make it like the happy ending of a movie, if you will. Like this is, and just really feeling it and feeling gratitude. And then this is like a personal technique that I do, but I'll share it because, why not? I try to visualize myself like my soul is I try to visualize my soul and my body, and for whatever it's worth, I believe that this is all an infinite experience, and we kind of pop in and out in a maybe in some sensical manner, but we're always popping in and out of a different dream in my belief. And I try to just really feel like I'm popping into the one that I want to be in, and I just it's like I'm being born again for that next day, or before I go to bed I'm going to a different place, and that's just been the most incredible thing. It really has, it really has helped me stay in that state of flow. It's been really something.
That is so cool. What you're describing of kind of popping in and out of this realm of reality reminds me a bit of Donnie Epstein teaches how you can kind of exchange versions. So there's a version in an alternate universe or in the multiverse that has the skill already or has the insight or the wisdom, and you could just exchange versions with that version of you and skip all the hard slog.
Yeah, I totally believe that. And when I was young and ignorant, that's actually my Uber driver today. That was the reason that I gave him. He's like, "Why did you start a business?" And whatever. I was like, ignorance. Didn't know that that was going to be this hard. Didn't know my, but that's what I always told myself before I knew anything about personal development, before I knew anything about mindfulness, meditation. I didn't know anything about health. I always would tell myself, I'm living in the best possible version of this reality. There are many other realities out there, but I'm going to be in the best possible version of it. I was so convinced about that. And I don't know why. I don't know where that came from, but I was just so convinced, and I think part of that was motivated by the fact that, I don't know if I call it a failure, but the fact that, I didn't do so well in school. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. That really motivated me to want to become more. And I was just so set on it.
Wow. Love what you said there. So, okay. Now, by the way, listener, if you wanted to check out the Donnie Epstein episode on my other show on Get Yourself Optimized, please do so. It's a game changer. I'm going to his event, the Transformational Gate, here in just a few days. You get these energy entrainments and stuff, and he has his practitioners that fly in from all over the world and stuff. It's going to be amazing. And my little baby, who's 5 months old, you got to meet him at the event. He's going to be coming with my wife, and we're very excited. So, and a couple other things before we move on to the marketing stuff that you like, all the growth hacking things that you've been doing.
Yes.
I think this is really important that we close the loop on all this meditation stuff because it's so important. So one question, do you ever do guided visualization or is it all just kind of self-guided?
Now it's self-guided, but yeah, I started with guided. I had some apps. I had like 2 or 3 meditation apps. Let's see, I think my favorite one was probably the Headspace app, and then I did a bunch of Dr. Joe Dispenza's stuff for a while.
He's awesome. Yeah.
His stuff's incredible. His guided meditations are really incredible, and I read a few of his books, and I think it's kind of funny. I did the guided meditations before I read the books, and then in the books it kind of talks about how you can take a little bit here and there. And then I was like, oh, okay, now that I got a grip on this, I can start to combine stuff, because he doesn't really teach the transcendental techniques, which are like, the counting or the words you say over and over again to kind of clear your mind. So I kind of have merged those things together, and that's been great. So but I would start with guided. If someone was just getting started, even 5 minutes of guided meditation, it was so hard to do 5 or 10 minutes when I first got started, but now I can sit down with absolutely no guidance, no music, no nothing, and sit for 20 minutes or 30 minutes or even an hour if I really want. And now that's based on how early I wake up. If I can get myself up at 4 a.m, I'll do an hour. I mean, it's always pays to do more, because the more I can be in control of my mind, the more I can be in control of my future. So.
Yep. Yeah. Cool. Well, there are a couple other apps besides Headspace that I'll mention. The Waking Up app. So Sam Harris, he's awesome. I've heard him speak several times. He was where was he most recently? I saw him at Summit LA. Yeah, he was speaking there. That was awesome. So Waking Up app, I love the lessons inside of there, not just the meditation exercises. Some of those lessons are super profound, like the one on death. Whew. Powerful. Yeah. In fact, so I think I mentioned this to you before when we were chatting, in person, that I'm part of Genius Network, which is Joe Polish's mastermind, and he started one of the meetings with that death meditation. So it was a 2-day event, and the first thing that we did, instead of talking about whatever the agenda or anything, he's like, I got to play this for you. It changed the the dynamics for the whole rest of the event, and in a very good way. Super cool. And then there's the Primed Mind app. So Elliot Rowe is behind that one, and he was a guest on my other show on Get Yourself Optimized. Really great guy, and a great app as well. Yeah, so those are a couple options for apps in addition to Headspace and in addition to Muse.
2 I haven't heard of, so
yeah, and
I
then
write this down.
And then breathing exercises. I wanted to ask you, like, there's box breathing, there's the 4-7-8 breath, which I learned about from Dr. Andrew Weil. So a huge health guru. He's been around for forever. And he spoke at a Genius Network event last year, and he was sharing how powerful this 4-7-8 breath is. So breathe in for 4, hold for 7, then breathe out for 8. And
that's essentially what I do, and that is incredible. Something about holding.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So then the box breath is where it's just like, 4-4-4, where it's just the same length for holding and for breathing out and breathing in. Do you ever do that one?
Yeah, I do. I mix them up, but I actually wasn't even familiar with the terminology on them, but the one that you mentioned from Dr. Weil is close to what I do.
Okay.
But I'll do, typically I'm breathing, once I get into meditation, I'll start with that kind of breathing, and then I'll transition into like just breathing out for about twice as long as I'm breathing in. And I kind of have a pattern with it now that I'm able to follow, and it's not, I don't count the breaths as much as I used to.
Okay, gotcha. And by the way, Dr. Weil says that this breathing thing of the 4-7-8 is one of the most profound things that you could do to improve your health and to just be more mindful and everything. It's just like, this is the foundation for so much in your life. Just that one thing of breathing 4-7-8 for at least several minutes a day. Yeah.
I believe it.
Yep. Okay. So, and there's one other breathing exercise I'll mention, and then we'll move on to marketing. And that is, I learned this one from my wife, Orion, and who you met. And she learned it from Nam Yoga. And it's, you breathe in. Actually, I'll just demonstrate it. And then actually we'll get our listeners to follow along and do it, as long as you're not going to be unsafe by doing it. If you're driving or something, maybe not. But you breathe in, and then a little bit more, and then you hold it, and then tap on with your fingers on your chest, upper chest. Keep tapping, keep holding it, and let it out. And do that like another time or two. Let's try one more. And tap, 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 tap. And let it out. It is so energizing. I do this before I'll go on stage or before a TV appearance or something, and it just gets me into the zone. I am less like, I'll even have with speaking engagements sometimes, if it's like after lunch and the audience is kind of sleepy, I'll walk them through doing this. And for a marketing event or something, I'll be the only one who's done anything like that, and it'll make me memorable. And that they remember people remember how you make them feel more than what you teach them or anything like that, and they feel more alive, and that's something that they can take home and apply and teach others and stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah. One more thing I'll say on the tune of meditation, the event that I met you at, I meditated 5 times that day. I didn't meditate before I went. I was kind of, traveling and just, so I was just getting, skip the day, right? But it found me anyway, and it was, what a great way to connect with people. Like, what an amazing space to be in to connect with people. That was really, really profound. All the devices that they had there, and then also just, the people that were guiding the meditations. It was super cool.
Yeah, really cool. Okay, so let's talk about some of this growth hacking stuff, because you've been doing some pretty ninja things, and a lot of it's self-taught, You're not in a whole lot of different masterminds or anything like that. And you spend significant money on, or have at least in the past, on Facebook ads and so forth. Like, you put your money where your mouth is, or whatever. I guess, I don't know if that's really the right analogy here, but you really doubled down and made sure that you were going to do this big or go home. And like, where did you get to on a monthly ad spend with Facebook?
Let's see. I think our most, and this month will be probably a little bit more, but around a little bit over 30,000 a month.
30,000 a month for a small business. Would you call yourself still a startup?
Oh yeah. We're literally in that scaling phase now, where we're implementing like HR and operations. We're at about 11, 12 people right now. So.
Yeah, so that's a lot of money to spend for a small business on Facebook ads. And like, I hear complaints all the time about the money. It's getting more expensive, and the ROI and the value you get off of Facebook is decreasing at the same time. So what would you say about like this as a strategy? Is it a long-term play, or is it something that you're just kind of filling a gap with something that's probably going to kind of go away over time?
It's both. I mean, I've had it go away. I've had my ad account banned, and that was probably the best thing that ever. That's probably the best thing that ever happened to me.
Really? Tell me more about that.
Well, so I will say that we became very heavily dependent on Facebook. I was in late 2017 to early 2018. I mean, 2018, I think it was like March or May of 2018 was when the big algorithm change happened, when the data scandal happened with Facebook. And I mean, I went from getting literally $6 conversions at an average order value over $60, which is ridiculous, right? On autopilot, I had this one ad running with just like a stupid high budget, at least for the time. It's more now, but like at that time, it was a lot. And I mean, that thing was just going and going and going. Thousands of conversions, and that data thing happened, and that was my first slap with Facebook. All of a sudden, we went from getting like this 7 to 10 time return on ad spend, which is insane, to not even being able to break 2 to 2.5 return on ad spend. And that was a dramatic blow to our business. And it took some time to reevaluate. Internally, we had a lot of inefficiencies, like labor inefficiencies, production inefficiencies that we had to correct. So, I mean, if you're in a position where you have a product that you have maybe a contract manufacturer, or you don't manufacture the product. A lot of the people that I learned Facebook ads for actually did like drop shipping and stuff like that. And if you're in one of those situations, then you're pretty much dependent on the cost of your ads to make money. And it's not a very easy place to be. It's not so easy to sleep at night, because as it's happened to me many times, that rug can get pulled underneath you, and you could be pretty much you could be, a 7-figure business to a 0-figure business overnight, right? And there has to be, and it's easy to put a lot of energy and time in ads. I'll tell you, the amount of time I spend on my ads now compared to then, there's some strategies. I love to talk strategy, but I'll just say I do not focus on my cost per acquisition hardly. Obviously, I have a threshold, but that is hardly what I'm focused on now. I'm focused way more on retention tactics, not even tactics, just like taking great care of our customers so they come back more often, and having a few things to automate that. I'm always building out more. I figure, that's where the time should be, because retention and keeping people excited about the product, about the vision, I think that's really, at least in my experience, that's the way to beat advertising costs rising, is have something that is that has a little bit of word of mouth ability to it, that has a little bit of excitement to it, beyond what you can do with, I studied a lot of copywriting. I studied a lot of direct response marketing, spent a lot of time really just obsessing over it. And I think I got what I wanted to out of it. But I will tell you that sure, you can make your cost per acquisition lower with copy, and at scale, is that important? 100%. like especially at scale, changing one headline is a huge deal. But having a system in place to get people to come back over and over again, that's what's going to help you sleep at night.
Right.
Because we used to send emails out of emergency, like our cash flow is freezing up. What do? Oh, let's send an email and run a sale. It was reactive. It wasn't proactive. It wasn't. There was no preeminence whatsoever about our strategy. It was all reactionary. So with Facebook ads, I could talk strategy all day. There are a lot of things that we do very differently. We don't use very high budgets with our ad sets. We do a lot of segmenting out. I'm probably running we're going to probably be around 40K this month in spend. Probably have like 200 or 300 ad sets running, and that would make most people go crazy. But it's just what I found that works for me. And we have a very interesting method where I have an ad set that I publish and unpublish that we don't spend any money on, but it's basically every single audience that possibly exists. And then I'll copy and paste whatever creatives I want in there in a different variety, and then I'll just duplicate that thing into a new campaign. I think it's about 140 different ad sets. Take that, and then we will play around with budgets. We'll try it maybe at a $7 a day budget. We'll try it at a $10, $11, $20, $50. We'll play around with budgets, and we'll just literally 130 ads. Just boom, just like let them run for 48 hours, and then we just clip the ones that aren't good. We'll take the ones that are. We'll find out what are they doing well on Instagram? Are they doing well on Facebook? Are they doing well? Actually, those are really the only places they usually do well, but the news feeds. But sometimes we'll be surprised, and we'll have something doing well in Audience Network or something, and we'll look at the age demographics because for some reason, if this lookalike of an add to cart is doing really well with women on Instagram that are under the age of 40, then that's where we're gonna duplicate and run another ad to. And it doesn't always work, but we'll run maybe 3 variations of audiences and ads to whatever that is that's working at that time, because those data pools are always changing. So in my theory, if this add to cart lookalike is working really well with women under this age, then maybe that's just where a majority of its data, maybe that's where it's learned the best. So we want to use that audience for that, whatever that demographic is, to weed out the people that aren't as relevant to it. That's at least just what I've found with it. And that's that's been a very great way to go, and it's not really a low budget strategy because you do spend a lot of money up front to get yourself in the door. But any holiday, any algorithm change, anything that happens, we'll find a decline in performance, and we'll just clip all of our ads that are not performing, and then we'll just do something like that where we'll just make a few hundred ads, and we'll chop all the ones that are losers, and I have to monitor them, every few days. I don't even look necessarily daily anymore. I'm looking probably 3 times a week at the very most, and I'm just clipping the ones that are over the budget. And our real focus goes on to retaining our customers. We've very, very fortunately hit a critical mass where our ad spend is, we are getting a positive ROI on our ads, which is wonderful. But we're able to do that even if we're over a 2.5 return on ad spend. That's like our break even now. And we can survive under a 2 if we really need to. But we're getting like a 4.2 right now would be about our average. I did some management this morning. That's what it looks like we're getting. So that's great, And honestly, if we did 2.5 at scale, that'd be fine too, especially if we had customer retention in place. If we didn't, then that would just not be a way to run a business. It would not be a way to run business. And it gets very easy because you're like, wow, it's almost like printing money because you spend a little bit on Facebook ads and somehow they magically find this right person and they seem to always spend an average of this much. The fact that we even have that technology and the fact that we're even able to do that's incredible. It's a wonderful thing, but
yeah, it's like magic. There's lookalike audiences. I'm sure there's AI in there.
It's ridiculous.
It's pretty wild.
Honestly, it's ridiculous. And the fact that that we're able to have that right now, we do not know when that will go away or when that will change or what Facebook has up their sleeves, what they're actually doing. We really don't know. That's how I look at it, and that's why I do have a little bit of diversity. I do a little bit of display network advertising, and I do a little bit of Pinterest advertising. None of them are doing as well as Facebook. I think I've still yet to achieve a consistent 2x return on my ad spend on Pinterest, despite what the reps tell me. But maybe one day I'll have someone on my team that's really, I don't know anything about Pinterest, so maybe that's why too. I don't know why people use Pinterest. I don't understand the user. Instagram, I do understand. So maybe that's why I do better with it. And I understand how to craft a message for someone there. Whereas maybe I don't get it with Pinterest, but yeah, like I think, having a strategy where you're going to do well, regardless of the cost per acquisition upfront, you got to have, obviously if our cost per acquisition was like $500, that wouldn't work. It needs to be into a reasonable range, but, creating a system where you have flexibility allows you to focus on the business more. I was way too focused on how much my ads cost and at a certain point, and not enough on how much value I was bringing to my customers. And it's funny how we've gone backwards now with our email marketing strategy. Rather than trying to just sell more volume of the same stuff, we've actually gone into specializing and making things like what you tried at the event I met you at, things that you can't buy all the time, things that are exclusive, limited edition, and actually more handcrafted. So interesting how moving back in that direction has made us not only more profitable, but gives us total security. It just gives us the total security that we have a list of customers, and we have quite frankly, because we have a lot of scaling constraints that we're working through beautifully this month, but we do have scaling restraints because our repeat customers have hit a critical mass, if you will, and we have just gotten so many orders, especially during like Valentine's Day and whatever. We haven't even done any email marketing, so scaling the team has been just like part of that, because quite frankly we haven't even been able to send emails, but in doing emails, we haven't even hit the limits, is I guess the point I'm making. Like, we still haven't sent like one of these a week. We've done 3 a month max of these like limited edition, and it's like made up for about 50% of our revenue when we've done it, which is looking month by month. And that's just to me, that's outrageous, the fact that we're going backwards to like more handcrafted, but specialty has brought, and it's reignited interest in our product with our customers. I know that not every business can do that. I know this isn't relevant to every single business, but any way that you can create something else that is complementary or exclusive, or more special, that's in the same flavor, if you will, of what your offering is, it's a reason for people to come back, because maybe somebody was buying our strawberry truffles like every month for like 6 months, and then they just got tired of them. Like, I get tired of stuff that we make, but then we make other stuff and it keeps it exciting, right? So it's the same thing with our customers. Maybe they only like strawberry, so when we offer like a strawberry balsamic truffle, slight variation, it gives them a reason to want to be part of this again. And then the limited aspect of it is like, okay, it's only available a few times a year, but like maybe because they enjoyed that strawberry balsamic so much, they're going to buy some more strawberry at least once, like even if it's like a slight percentage in increase, but it just somehow ignites the interest. And that's what we've seen. We've seen a dramatic increase in our lifetime value by doing this. And it's the cool thing about it is it's not discounting the product. It's not saying like buy more, giving away more for less, right? It's really about creating a true value, it's not false scarcity. It's actual, a very true value rather than, 20% off, buy now, 3 days left, and that works. But where do you see that happening? You walk around all these retailers in a mall or something, and they're like, buy 3 shirts buy 1 shirt and get 3 free. And
yeah, it's a race to the bottom.
Yeah, it is. And retail is dying, and it's sad. Like there was a restaurant supply store that we had a relationship with, and it was so interesting because, we were in a pinch for something, and I went to go get it, and I don't remember what it was, but I was like, I saw it online, and I was just trying to get them to price match it, And they're like, you want to buy it on? This was like a year or so ago. They're like, you want to buy it online? Go buy it online. That was their that was their attitude to me, rather than price match, because it really is a reality of what's happening. The ability to serve people relatively quickly with the most favorable terms as far as pricing goes. It's like, competing on price is just not the place to be. Right. Having all those people on the floor, it's actually, even if it costs $1 more and I don't have to drive there and somebody else can order it, even it's $5 more. That's what I did with some buckets that we needed. Somebody else, I said, go ahead and order. My time, everyone's time is more valuable than going there, and it's like the value of retail is declining. So discounting and using those tactics, I think, are going away. I mean, you look at even like the fashion industry. People pay more for stuff. The more you pay for it, it's almost like the more desired it is.
Yeah, perception of value there.
Yeah, and that's certainly not what we're doing. But it's like, there is something to be said about that. Like, where people's price sensitivities are relative to like convenience and all of that other stuff. So retail is changing, and it's dying, and there's a need for it to transform. And I think e-commerce is too, though.
Yeah.
Because you look at Bed Bath & Beyond or some big retailer.
Yeah, they were a client of mine. An SEO client for a while. Interesting.
And they're probably getting some e-com sales, but they're just getting bashed on the head by Amazon, really. They're just like kind of trying to put, and I'm sure, they have enough of a customer base, but it's like, really, it's not the game you want to play anymore, I think,
Yeah. Well, we could keep going, but I think we have to wrap. And I would have loved to have gone into copywriting, direct response, more about preeminence and Pinterest and all sorts of fun stuff. But and retention.
Yeah, there's
so much stuff. Yeah, we could have gone
into.
But then we spent so much time talking about things that really matter, like meditating and breathing, which I think is more important, and hopefully something that got our audience to kind of think differently.
I will say that all that mindfulness stuff, there have been many times where I'm like, forget the mindfulness. I just need to work harder. Please, if you're listening and that's the space you're in, take 20 minutes every morning at least. Like, just do something to work on, just you can't afford not to do it. It will transform your business. It will transform your life.
Yeah. Very true. All right. So if folks wanted to buy your chocolate, where do they go? And if they wanted to connect with you, where do they go?
They go to phikind.com, and you can connect with me on Instagram. Just find our Phi Kind. It's PHIKIND, and I'm on the Instagram. I'm pretty accessible there for now. So
awesome. Thank you, Jonathan, and thank you, listener. Go do something awesome with this information and change your business, change your life. Get some breathing in there and meditate, and we'll catch you on the next episode. I'm your host, Stephan Spencer, signing off.